where we talk about topics that no one else talks about. And today, well, actually, people do talk about AI. But we're talking about from an expert. We have an entire panel here, and trust me, we can add more people to this because we've talked about Patrick too. It's like, okay. And Patrick, if you don't want to join, you know how to get here, so feel free to join in too. It's about AI in asset management and how it can further enhance what we're doing. Also, look at some of the changes. And I'll forewarn everybody, we have 5 people here and 5 different opinions. And that's the best part. But it means that we actually may have more than one session on it. That's also how I look at it. But I was figuring, okay, let's get everybody. He said, you want to talk about AI? And they say, yeah. That's how we ended up here. For those who don't know me, my name is Bill, Mr. Bill. I'm a recovering IT practitioner. I've done now the ITAM kitchen for almost 3 weeks. We've been doing this every day and having a blast on several different fronts. Several of the guest speakers here, right here as well. And we talk about those topics, and it's being able to say, have an open collaboration. Because the overall purpose behind the ITAM kitchen was to bring fun back into ITAM, right? We think about how we do asset management, software asset management, configuration management. We get in the weeds, and we really roll up the sleeves because we're data geeks, right? I can totally admit that for me. And sometimes the funness behind it, we have to figure out, okay, how do we spice this up a little bit, have some collaboration, talk to the experts, and have it here live. And so we're streaming on LinkedIn right now. I also have the YouTube channel that's happening. So if you go on YouTube, please sign up for us on that side. On that, I'll put the ticker there below, the ITAM Kitchen on YouTube. Make sure we put that there. But quick introductions. Let's do a quick panel introductions. You probably know everybody, but if you haven't been here before, welcome. Appreciate you being here. If you're new to the industry, absolutely, you're going to enjoy yourself. Most of us been here 20 plus years. I know I've been around 30. We're some of the crazy ones still around, and we love it. I love it from several different angles. So with that, my name is Bill, Mr. Bill. Like I said, recovering IT practitioner. Little did I know that I'd be doing things like this, hosting this. When I first started, I was an IT technician. My boss said, now start tracking everything. It's like, okay. And then within a year, I became a consultant. I'm now help consult thousands of customers in different ways. And being able to say, okay, let's figure out how to do that next step. It's not about me knowing the answers. It's about how to enable others to go that next step. And that's where the fun is. So that's a little bit of introduction on me. Let's go just round robin. Sasha, you want to go next?
Well, I mean, I've been in the ITAM since, I started with software asset management, really didn't progress to bigger ITAM, and then more niche down now on managing negotiations around ITAM and based on ITAM data. And speaking of fun, Bill, and AI, I want to drop in one anecdote here, one story, which I hope will spice up this conversation. Spice up today's dishes in the ITAM kitchen. I protect clients from audits. And I received an audit report about 2 months ago, and I looked at it and I said, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then me and my colleagues looked at it, and then we realized somebody decided to process audit data with an LLM. So now, we still doing the dishes in that kitchen. So yeah, this is where I am. Really want to talk about AI.
Perfect. Ready to be next to my screen.
Well, good morning, good evening, good day. Yeah, I'm Rennie Rollinson. I am currently in the frozen mitten of Michigan. And I've been in IT asset management like Bill at least 30 years. And started out as somebody sat me down in front of a spreadsheet and I turned into a data nerd. And as I've grown in my career, we all make changes, and I went from PC technician to help desk leadership to asset management. And so here I am today, IT asset management for Stefanini. We do managed services for our customers. We protect them from audits too, Sasha, just not on the Microsoft front, just from other areas. But we certainly do complement one another in the work we do. So thank you, Bill. I don't have any spicy anecdotes yet, so give me time. I'll come up with some. I will, Sasha.
Jeremy, you want to go next?
Jeremy Berger, the ITAM coach, prognosticator, and author of Rethinking Information Technology Asset Management. I've seen the future, but I'm not going to give away the ending. I have been in IT asset management probably from the get-go, thanks to the Y2K bug. And one bill, it was, oh crud, my brain just shut down because it's cold in my house and I like it where it's warm. I'll remember anyway, but my boss at the time looked at me and said, you did a really good job helping us dodge this Y2K bug. Can you help us with the Office 98 renewal? And from there on out, it's been spreadsheets and Unicenter and Flexera and ServiceNow and all the other technologies that are running around.
Awesome. That's awesome. And Deanna?
Good morning. Well, I've been sitting at trying to remember when I started into computers, and it was high school. I was the second female allowed to take technical electronics in school. I don't know because females didn't like technical electronics or not. I found the subject fascinating. And then I went from electronics into watching people put computers together, and it hasn't stopped since then. Then I went into ITAM service management, and about 12, 15 years ago, I moved into asset management and never looked back. But I really appreciate my time in service management because my time now in asset management shows me how the people aren't using the tools correctly. So
Absolutely. And that impacts everything downstream, right?
Yep.
Or collectively. We've talked about the people, process, the technology, the data, and the governance around it, right?
Yep. And
That's
I
always the
find I do
framework.
like the people end of this as well, because I'm actually now, I went to school. I have a degree in training adults with technology. So that's what I do. I've always been in technology for some reason.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Because when you find it used to be, to your point, females in technology just didn't really intermix. It was more of a male environment. And that, Freddie and I were just talking about that just last week, kind of side chatter. And it's amazing how just some people shy away from it, but how others embrace it is the best way to put it.
I would put that to the challenge. That is not that is a misconceived notion. Women in technology have been around for a very long time. The first human computers were female, and the first programmers of the large ENIAC and vacuum tube digital brains, as they were called, were also done by women because the programming piece and the calculation piece was less valued than the computer engineering back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So it was only until the microprocessor really started to get hot that you saw this switch away from the programming piece being female dominated to now being male dominated. So yeah, Deanna, I hate to break it to you, but you were just on the wrong end of that curve.
Oh, absolutely.
And I do feel sorry for you. So don't give them the short shirt. That's for sure.
Yep.
Oh, females have always been. Yeah, it's always. I mean, I grew up in a TV shop, so I'll just go a little further, right? My mother was the first female graduate from Zenith Technical School in Chicago for repairing TVs back in the 70s. So to your point, it's just there, right? And if you have the knack, you have the knack. And if if you're shy for any reason, speak up. Seriously, that's the whole idea. And we'll there's lots of other rants I can go on that one. But let's get back to our core topic. But yeah, I appreciate females being here because I love the creativity. I love the wholeness you got to bring into the picture. And it's a complementary type role. I've always been like that, right? It's very respectful, et cetera. And it's like, okay, let's figure out how to work together. That's the fun. But our core topic is AI. And we know AI doesn't have sometimes the common sense to think correctly, right? It's the best way to put it. Everything we're talking about. And that's where our core topic is AI and how it can further enhance our role. Now, with that, we have to think about how it's going to change our role. So with that topic, let's hit it for a couple different angles. And Sasha, let's use the example. Let's just hit right off where you started there, your story, right? Leveraging AI just to provide those results and not, I'll just put it out there, not auditing, easy for me to say on a Monday morning, where it's cold here too. I've got about 17 degrees here in Tennessee.
Amateurs.
Exactly. But it's about not auditing the results the technology is giving you, which we're auditors. That's what we do. That's our true life. And if you haven't thought in our role, we don't audit, I don't know what's going on there. We've always had to audit our results because that's just what we do on that part. Speaking of that, one quick note, if you're online on the chat, please put where you're from. I see the chatter already going for some of the guys and gals already here on a regular basis, which is awesome. Just identify where you're from, because I know the audience is much greater than everybody that identified, but don't be shy. This is here about collaboration. But back to the point, not auditing the results and expecting AI to run the environment. That's kind of where you're going there, Sasha. You want to provide?
Can I? So I'm looking at it from just one point of view. Obviously, AI could be used in operating environment, actually managing assets. We could discuss it today. Correct. So those of you who manage assets, absolutely. AI could be used to analyze agreements. I found it's one of the best ever in software asset management. One of the best ever use cases is to have a library of software licensing agreements and different addendums and whatever other vendors call them, schedules, CTM forms and whatnot, and throw in a new agreement and just ask AI, what is non-orthodox in this one? And do you see any issues? And I found that LLMs of the current generation, I'm not sure about Copilot, but good LLMs are really good at that. They are not legal. Obviously, you need to pass it on to legal if you have doubts, but it really helps you prepare to negotiation. We are professional in negotiation business. I don't think AI will soon replace negotiators, really. But preparations around, what's changed, least desirable, most desirable outcomes, just drafting, scaffolding the negotiation plan, absolutely. Still, it's a very, very little area where AI really can excel. But what I absolutely am against is trying to fix every single problem with the same tool. And where LLMs are evil is trying to normalize the data. Please don't. I mean, I beg everyone who will ever discover this video, please don't, especially if you're an auditor, because golly, it hallucinates. It creates non-existent user accounts. It fills in, it puts in non-existent models. It doesn't matter what you feed it. It's the way it works. It can only have like 8 particular points it's attached to. It ignores instructions. It can't follow a proper process. There are different AI tools that can do that job. So I'm not dismissing AI entirely. There are tools, and AI professionals will probably eat me alive right now, but this is the term that I repeat these days. They're not called large language models. They're called small action models. Very specific models, fine-tuned for a very specific action, data normalization. And yes, they can guess much better. And yes, they can follow specific, because they're trained to do so. They're not trained to pretend to write a good essay.
So I'm going to come after you here, Sasha, on this one, because
I'm next.
You are. I'm going to tee this up for you, Rennie, because we really first need to start talking about is deciding what we mean when we talk about AI. The transformative data model that the large language models are using right now is just one small segment of what AI really is. Asset managers have been using AI for decades. How often are you reading a scanned image of a paper document, an underpinning document? That was captured not by a camera. Well, it was captured by camera technology, but it was enhanced and made readable by machine learning models that sharpen up that image so that you can actually make sense of it. We've used predictive models for consumption of hardware and software and inventory managers for a long time. And that normalization piece goes back, many more decades with even some of the early IP TCP technologies that made communications possible. So let's be really clear about when we say AI, are we talking about large language models? Do we only want to talk about large language models, or do we need to talk about some of these other predictive analytical tools that need to happen? And Rennie, I pass the baton to you.
Well, I think we have to be careful. Like Sasha said, you got to be really careful. The AI tool that I use for my team and my customers, it's an internal AI tool. So we don't have to worry about confidential information and winding up in ChatGPT, right? So we're careful there. That's the first thing. Second of all, we use it for things to do. So things that ServiceNow, that Flexera, that any of those other tools don't do. For example, so you may or may not agree with this, and that's cool. But when we do a launch, we use it to run comparative analysis of data versus our data scrubbing instructions. That helps us be able to, through data that would have taken us a week to get through, in a matter of minutes. And then we can make decisions from there. So we necessarily try everything that AI gives us. We go back and we look at it, we study it and make sure that we're really clear that did this really come out right or not? Because sometimes the rules that we give it require, the brain, a human brain, to make a determination as to whether that rule really applies or not. So for us, we're not using it in the SAM space because we already have tools in the SAM space that help us with that. And they do a great job. SAM Pro, Flexera, all of those tools those are the biggest ones right now, right? They're doing a great job helping with contract analysis and compliance reporting and all of that. But we still have some data that we have to manipulate outside of the tools. And so, and especially when your customers don't have the money to pay for Ham Pro or, things like that. So that's where we're using it. So it's great on the software side that you're exercising that caution, but we can exercise the caution with being able to say, try it. Just try it and see what happens, right? Because you can't break it.
And I think Robert brings up a good point here too, right? Normalization can be done in storage stages, exactly. It's all about auditing. That's kind of what you're doing as well, right? Randy, you're testing it, you're kicking the tires. You're not just trusting it blindly, right? With the appropriate due diligence and quality assurance. That's what you're talking about. You trust it, you understand it, you validate it. That's back to the auditing, right? So we have to make sure we're auditing and making sure we have that. Then we can build into it and further build upon it. We can't just say blindly, okay, there it is. It's going to be done. It's that magic 8 ball, right?
However, we have a culture that is treating AI as omniscient. They have grown up in an idea of R2D2 and C3PO and Commander Data of the world, where AI is better than humanity.
It's the magical, yeah.
And when your manager says, well, we have to be using AI because I presume it will give us a better answer, we need to hit the brakes on that and say, au contraire. Mm-hmm. And I think, Rennie, that's where you and I tend to differ, that, AI, can AI be used in guardrails? And I think my position is still, we haven't even built the guardrails yet. And there's one other, and I want to give Deanna a chance to jump in on this next one, but I want to throw in not just the guardrails, but we're still building out the guardrails, but we're also still need to build out our emotional relationship with AI, because there's still that presumption of AI can do it better, faster, cheaper, even though it keeps proving itself as not to. So, Deanna, go ahead, take the spotlight.
And Deanna, let me interject. Robert actually just put up another thing. Is I think we all have this opinion, right? Don't get us started on the business push of AI everywhere. I think that's the core to everything we're talking about, right? That's our danger in hand. It's like, oh, how do we apply it? And we all have different use cases. I'm using it too for different reasons, but let's just keep that in mind. I just want to throw that in there.
I tripped over myself. It's the transfer of the onerous away from human beings and onto this machine that we need to be really careful of. That's where I think the guardrails need to be built that we are not doing as societal and in business in particular. Sure. Deanna, go ahead. I apologize. I'll sit down.
Well, a lot of people are still semi-afraid of AI taking their jobs. We have the ability to look at the whole picture, physically look at where AI is pretty much electronically looking at what it already has or what it can find. It doesn't know how it's going to trigger someone's emotions. It doesn't know that we just spent $500 million on something that it doesn't like or says it can do better. And we already spent the cost. So I'm still a little cautious with AI, but I think a lot of it is because of all the physical movement I've done with hardware. And I've only been allowed to help repair the software end of things. So it's the balance that I don't see. Okay.
So that brings up a good point. And Rennie has talked about this before, and I am always going to give her a chance to talk about ta-da. The idea that asset management is not. I will always. Unfortunately, I learned you gave it to me before I was able to put it in my book. So, third edition in another couple of years when that comes out, it's going to show up. But the idea that the asset manager is getting away from this physicality activity of dropping hardware and loading software and then counting up how many times they do that over to a analytics role and a much more meta conversation. Is that data good? Is this relevant? Is this actually giving us the right idea? And then stepping in before somebody does something stupid with that AI answer, like send out a generated audit email. Pray continue, Jay. Rennie.
Well, actually, I would love to see an audit email go out. Right? So the biggest issue for my team, because most of my team in the hardware space right now, we don't have a lot of the CM space. But when he says ta-da, it's not like ta-da. It's more it's an acronym that I jokingly made up. Technology, asset data auditing. And really what we do once that asset record is created is we processes and the people surrounding asset management and lifecycle. I keep telling my people what I do is no touch. We don't touch those because that's not our job. And if we did, you'd have to pay me a lot more money, right? First of all. Second of all, my job is to make sure that I am protecting my customers' assets from cradle to grave. So from when it ships from the OEM or the vendor to when it goes to the disposal company and we get the COD back, that's our job. We audit that.
Yeah. I'm surprised how many
like you said, data analytics. We are what? I'm sorry, Deanna, go ahead.
So I was amazed at how many companies do not audit their CODs and COEs. They just take it for granted that it's out the door.
Huge.
I'm done. Huge.
Well,
is AI going to tell me that? I'm sorry.
And this is evidence of this demand that we have to push our onerous of our activities away from us.
Yeah.
We do it with our third-party service providers. We do it with our value-added resellers. This is probably where Sasha starts saying, yeah, but I make a bunch of money on it. now we're doing it with AI. No, Your Honor, it wasn't me that said that. It was the AI. So you can't hold me liable. And the legal aspects of this is going to catch up in a hurry.
We had a police chief in Birmingham, United Kingdom, recently losing his job when somebody discovered that he based his decisions on a report put by ChatGPT. So that wasn't an excuse. It was a national scandal. I know we're across the ocean and you don't follow us, but it was pretty ugly.
Well, but what we're all bringing back to, right? It's nothing new with AI, but it's impacting us differently because it's impacting what our roles do, what we do day to day, our advisory activities, et cetera, as well as the outcomes. Is the audits, being able to audit what's happening, right, versus just accepting it at face value. That's kind of the core and the crux of everything I just heard, right? You're not reviewing the results. You're just saying push it on. Make it happen because we
But you
get
get
too
outside
busy.
of the tools too, right? So there's
Absolutely.
I think I'm stepping on you. So for example, when we do our playbooks or our solution design workbooks, we take the verbiage, the narrative on those processes, and we can turn them into swim lanes and races using AI. It goes much faster. We can rewrite our KBs. We had a customer that moved from Flexera to ServiceNow. We had to rewrite all the KBs. We were able to do that within weeks rather than months because we took them, fed them into our internal AI tool and said, rewrite this for ServiceNow, this version, blah, blah, blah. And it did it. So it's not just about auditing the data. It's about use it in a way that helps us get things done faster. There are so many times I get things that come across my desk and I go, this is so, wait, let me see if my internal AI tool will help me with this. I had a VP who went on and on about, did we answer all the questions in the RFP? So I ran a comparative analysis of all the documents. Tell me, did we answer all the questions? And it said, yeah, you did, and more. Okay. So I sent it to him. Here you go. We did it. So just about the asset data, because I think the tools that we have for managing asset data, like Flexera, ServiceNow, Aerosent, whatever there are out there, Freshworks, sorry, they all give us a foundation for doing what we have to do. And especially, like Sasha, what you're doing is outside of the tool too, because you're really taking all this data in, reviewing it. I mean, you can't trust the data comes through the tools. I need raw data. Somebody set a filter on there, right? So it's not just about using it to manage the data or the assets. It's about the management of those teams that are managing the assets and the data. Now I'm going to get off the soapbox.
There still, right? It's the auditing aspect is still missing. That's again, we're still hearing that, right? By default, we're designed to be auditors. I mean, I was a baseline inventory auditor. You want to talk about ritual, hands down, no nick, and train people at the same time? That's school of hard knocks, right? In today's youth, I'll say it that way. There's some new folks in the industry, and I love having them here. Don't realize the amount of detail that we put into making sure the accountability is there for the data. We just do, because that's inherent. That's what we do. We built into it, right? And there's lots of different comments coming that are pretty lengthy at some points. But it's all about that scrutiny, right? Because business comes before quality. And I saw Robert put a little comment about that. And there's some truth to that. And we just have to figure out, okay, how can we keep in mind AI, the whole purpose behind it is automation. I've been doing automation myself with technologies for 30 years. I mean, I was writing workflows in Asset Manager and Asset Center and all that stuff way back on anything we're talking about now, right? And that automation, we knew how it was. We scripted for the right results. We knew what it was, but we also reported the errors. We had to review those errors. Are we doing that today? I mean, a lot of the imports I'm seeing, as an example from the technology, and pick on whichever gorilla you want to in the space, they're horrible about logging. what errors are coming in. Horrible. I'll just call it out. Horrible on that part. So if you think about that, okay, let's go back to the crux. But I'm not trying to pick on the vendors. We can. I can tear them apart. That's not the purpose. But let's figure out back to AI. How can we better embrace AI? And I think these guardrails we're talking about are huge to that, right? And say, what use cases do we want to start accountable? Where do we start? How do we do crawl, walk, run approach and our maturity to embrace this, go that next step? That's what's going through my brain. Any thoughts?
So in AI, there is, if you get away from the LLMs and you get into some of the agentic and automated autopilot sort of activity, you come into a concept. Sorry, Cincinnati Public Schools just announced they're going to be closed for tomorrow, and my daughter is celebrating. So I apologize for the distraction. It's a little early. Usually they'll wait till lunch, but there is, when you're dealing with autopilots, flying an airplane, driving a car now, as well as some of the other agentic purchasing AIs, there is something that's known as a knowledge model. And what that is a subset of the data that tells the robot what the optimal state of the activity is. How fast can the plane fly? How fast can you push it? How fast do you go too far? And then you got to start backing off. And when you say back off, do you mean the throttle? Do you mean flaps? Do you need dropping landing gear? What have you? All of these little instructions. Asset managers have been building a knowledge model for decades because we've got all of this we've been doing all of this normalization activity, gathering up underpinning documents and organizing reports to go against not just external but also internal audits. But what we're losing right now is that presumption that whatever the model is telling us must be fact. And current tooling that's out there makes it very difficult to look inside their box and say, how did you come up with this answer? And
very much so.
That's the next step. And that's why, again, Rennie, that ta-da idea is really going to come back to be a blessing and a curse, because asset managers are the only people that are going to be able to make sense and build out that data model, that knowledge model for the automation to actually deliver.
That's part of it. Let me add to that a little bit. I think where you're also going is we are currently in our industry, when it comes to the vendors, the product vendors provide these solutions, right? They've taken the black box approach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to call it black box approach. It's driven me batty for years, black box approach, because they don't say, oh, well, it just happens. There's magic behind it. Well, that magic is now exposed. It's got to be exposed for us to trust the data coming out, because AI's, we need to know how AI needs to operate and think about it, and we'll trust to make that judgment call. Again, I'm just going to throw that little nugget out there, because the vendors have to help us a little bit. It's not just about us figuring it out. We've got to work with these tools, because if we're going to trust these tools, pay these millions of dollars for it, not just thousands, but millions, it's got to be a two-way street. And we've got, because if we're going to trust them and use their tech, great, that's awesome, that's great, business decision is there. But we also have to your point, if we're going to, we're also auditors, and we have to pull that back in. I'm going to pull back in there. We've got to be able to audit what we're doing. Yep. Otherwise, the executives cannot trust the data we're going to give them.
Yeah.
Deanna, you said something you were about to pipe up on. I'm sorry, I injected that.
No, I was just the last time I used AI was I helped it read my book for me before I published it. Okay.
It's great at that.
And I didn't necessarily want it to look at my spelling errors, but it did look at some of the logic of the sentences I wrote, and I found that highly interesting. So you actually can teach yourself that you're not thinking along AI lines, but I still know how to think along human lines. And that was one thing I found interesting, because that was about the only thing I had for the last for the last 6 months to work with AI with. And it was kind of cool.
It's very good at that, actually. It's
Yep.
extremely good at that.
I have a question, Bill.
Go for it.
Sasha, given your initial comments, where are you finding uses for AI?
Situation tracking statuses really helps when it's a long ongoing project. It doesn't matter, or a managed service, by the way, and a day-to-day ITAM management. What I find is AI it's not perfect. It still needs nudging. It's a lazy child that will take a shortcut if you don't control it. Always forget about your instructions. Doesn't matter how you ask for it. It's unfortunately it's a design flaw of the whole principle of the LM. Still, under supervision, it really helps seeing that progress. Frees a lot of time of project managers. I had a PM this morning saying, "I'm afraid I'm going to still soon lose my job." He won't, because his value is much higher than just collecting project statuses. But that particular point in management, ITAM as well, is absolutely fantastic. And I already said contract analysis. Potentially, by the way, which would, if you just continue evolving this idea, ticket analysis, going from incident management to problem management with AI, definitely like a no-brainer. I would do it today. That would be my my 2 cents.
Well, it's kind of like what Curtis Paul saying, right? The LLMs that we have available to us today are simply assistance tools, right?
I'm just trying to say what Jeremy also amplified, and many of you confirmed, is that I disagree with only one thing right now, which is trying to use LLMs to normalize data. Yes, it can be done in a controlled manner. Yeah, you're just using the wrong tool. That's it. Yeah, it's just a wrong approach, and you're creating yourself more headache than you're solving. There are better solutions available in the market. Automation for data normalization it still works better. Just simple, old school database comparisons. Filling in the gaps from available data sets that are open source even these days. Like number of processes per server model. You don't need AI for that. No, seriously. I hope you understand.
Well, it is, because it's going to take time, right? It's going to get there. We're not saying we don't want it to go there. We're not saying we don't want to trust it. We're just saying at this moment in time, at this juncture, we're not there yet. Right?
No.
Again, that level of maturity.
And I love what Sasha's saying about data normalization, right? Because there's so many variables, there's so many levels of understanding within what comes into you. We do AV conference room tracking. We do asset management for EUC devices or network devices, and the crossover between those devices is tremendous, and we don't always get the right data from the discovery tools, right? So when we put that into some sort of a normalization tool, we still have to go back and run checks on it, right?
Yeah.
So there's still, go ahead, Sasha.
Well, I actually wanted to jump in.
I want to understand, if everyone to understand it as well. I come from a very interesting, different point of view here. So there's a level of tolerance, and it was mentioned in the comments, and I keep reading all the comments that our viewers are posting today. So none of your comments are missed, trust me. It depends on your role, how tolerant can you be to the errors, and at what point you just let it go. And I would say, if I remember my past in actual management, I would say I would be all right with 60% data quality. That low, it already gave me enough information to take to take action and make decisions based on that. in certain roles, you need 75 to 80% accuracy, which probably, by the way, IT security is probably in that range. When it comes to compliance, and by the way, IT security could also, feel free to eat me alive. When it comes to software compliance, and especially money audits, I want 95% quality. And unfortunately, right now, if you look at the statistics, don't take my word for granted. We are looking at, according to different researchers, something like 80% accuracy with Claude and 40% with ChatGPT. So it's not what you can use for audit reports. And talking about money, so everybody understands why I'm saying this. That report had errors for about $1.5 million American dollars. Come on. You were so lazy to do it yourself in a couple of days, just slap the AI on it without any checks, and you come and you have the guts to come to the client and say, you owe us $1.5 million. Nope. Go away. Do your job properly.
That goes back to the concept of guardrails. What is the company's tolerance for a missed audit? There isn't I have yet to run across a client that could tell me straight-faced from the beginning of the project, we need to get this down to within about 2 to 3% or 3 to 5%. They always look at me and it's like, well, what would be the industry standard? It's like, guys, really? That's part of that human element that needs to be solved first, that builds that knowledge model before AI can take over. Now, Bill, I want to push back on a comment that you made. We need to be clear. General AI is one thing, but there's all these other tools, like Tasha was saying, Sasha was saying, that roll under the concept of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is a great way to normalize your data, organize, do the taxonomy on your CMDB, and make sure that you're actually counting stuff the way it should be. That's what Flexera and remember Technopedia worked so hard on in the 80s and the 90s. That still works, but to trust LLM, which is really just asking the question, what word best answers this question? What are the words that follow after it statistically? That's not going to help. And so there's still this human need, this human first that needs to be in the mix that says, this is BS.
But
and
I'm
looking at Deanna and Rennie, and they're both like, "Oh yeah," and it's the guy that's explaining it to us.
And I'll go back to a little bit of pushback. And you mentioned some of the vendors, right? That's back to the black box.
Yes, indeed.
And they've been doing the black box for years, which they've been successful at to get good enough, right? With when you talk about the additional automation, keep in mind, I'm an integration guy, right? And always look for the data accuracy, because I get dinged if the data doesn't come across correctly. But that's not how integration folks look today. And that's where I'm coming from. Is like, we have to know how this is being processed. Like literally, I wouldn't say script it out, but be methodical on how you're processing it. So at least I don't want to mimic what you're doing. I may have to, because I have to audit. I want to audit what you're doing, right? And there's some good comments out there. Go ahead, Sasha, throw that one up there. And because when you start thinking about how again, we have to audit, and we keep getting pushback from the executives. No, go trust the vendors. Again, I'm picking on vendors on this side for the technologists. It's like, it's not just vendors. It's just in general. We've gotten lazy on our auditing side. Yeah, go ahead.
I've also found that just because you've had AI normalize everything, it's not going to matter if you don't have the right input in the beginning, because you're going to have to run it over and over again. You have to train your people. This product has this name. When we buy it, it gets this much information, but you must keep this name. All the new information will roll up into the normalization process. But if you keep changing your naming convention, you're never going to succeed. I've been on 3 normalization projects. It hasn't worked.
Yeah, Yes. No, I concur. And again, the answer collectively, the zeitgeist has been, I don't want to work that hard, so I'm going to trust the magic bullet. I'm going to trust the machine. And that is a recipe for disaster. I concur.
Once you normalize, you're only going to get about 40 to 50%. Then you have to massage the data. Then you have to go back and re-normalize again. Then all of a sudden we got a shipment and the person in procurement didn't know how to put the new stuff in. Then we have to run it again because your counts are all going to be off. Or you're going to have to look at so many little pockets that normalization really didn't do you anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I do like Curtis Paul's comment in here. It's an interesting little note. I'd rather ask the LLM to create code specifically designed to do normalization processing and then to normalize the data directly. They'll eventually all happen at the same time if we understand the steps.
See, that is a completely different approach to data normalization. You're vibing an app that does proper data normalization. You're not using LLM in the chat to fill in the gaps. That's different. Still very error prone, but even from the bird's eye view, you can see that it's a better approach.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I just wanted to throw that comment in there because it's, again, how we bring this all together. That's the important part because we're collaborating, right? How we make that happen. So yeah, Rennie, you were going to make a comment. I'm sorry.
Oh God, I got lost for a minute there. Am I still on mute? No, apparently not. I think it goes back to the guardrails, right? What guardrails do you need? What stories do you need to tell? What information needs to be in place? For example, when we launch a customer, they ask me why I need raw data. Well, I don't know how your tools are set up. How did you filter the data coming in? How are your inputs happening? Those have an impact also. So when we look at all of that information, and for me, and I was just messaging one of my guys who's on the call, we have been working on developing assistants, AI assistants to help us with specific tasks. It's understanding what needs to happen and how it needs to happen. And his comment was, and I'm gonna quote you, Alvin. It helps to make our work faster, but we're still not completely depending on it. We still test, analyze, and do some of our manual work, which brings us to your point that we really need to have framework around the AI and work that we're building, right? It's that framework and testing that framework continuously to make sure that it works. We have, we're doing stockroom inventory AI assistant where they send us the inventory, we pull the data, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but it works different for different customers because we're pulling data from different tools. So I can't say that this works specifically for every customer, but I can modify it to say, this is the customer, here's the bot, right? So again, back to what Sasha's saying, don't always trust the data, but look at it analytically to make sure that what you're getting out of it is useful. So for us, it becomes useful. So
trust but verify. I use that phrase in my book all the time.
There's also that additional nugget you just add in there, Rennie, is it depends upon the environment, how you do it. Yeah. And we have to keep that in mind because I heard executives all the time in my pre-sales roles, right? I want to do it however XYZ companies do it because you guys have already done this before. The executives say, I don't want to hear any noise. I just want to repeat it. And it's like, you're not that business. It's not, well, I want to replicate. We're going to throw everything out. It's like, you're not going to gain anything because that's not how you don't operate like that other financial institution. You're different. And being able to get that across to you exactly, that's not easy either. And you run into that, ask for help. That's the best way I can do it. Ask for help because that's where we all need to struggle and figure out how better to collaborate and communicate, is working through that. But as we go through, we're here on the last 10 minutes. This goes by fast. So, and it's like, it's amazing how, as we knew we were going to talk forever, which is great. But as we wrap up today's conversation, we can talk in a second if we want to have a part 2 when we want to have that. But guardrails. We all went to guardrails. let's do a round robin about 2 guardrails we would like to see in place or help suggest to any of our listeners to put in place when it comes to AI. Whoever wants to start.
I'll go first. 2 guardrails. What is your tolerance for risk that this thing is wrong? And that's a very long and difficult conversation. I'm not going to give any variables, but that's the question that needs to be asked. The second one is, oh, and I had it and I just lost it.
Don't forget what you're thinking about. That's the other risk. Okay, got
it. The second one is, how whole and complete is your data set for the answer you're trying to get? And I want to corollary that with, make sure you ask whatever AI you're using, how did you get to this answer?
Yes.
So, Deanna, how about you? We'll put you on the spot next.
Sure.
There you go.
I keep picking her. She's on the left of me.
That's okay. One of the things I've also noticed is I went to 2 companies and they didn't think that the manufacturer was kind of like a good name and they were only using vendor. Well, I can't now tell you who I purchased my HTTP equipment from because we got it from CDW. And then another company, their BIOS was set up very well through their vendor. And what they inputted from the manifest did not match the BIOS, even on their pieces of paper. So their CMDB and asset data didn't go together well. And you wouldn't have known these things unless you started working with them going, okay, why isn't this working? And that's when we, as auditors or investigators, we put our investigation hat on going, wow, you have so much information in your BIOS from your vendor, but you don't even know who your manufacturers are for when they type, because then input to I bought this asset from CDW, but it's an HP piece of equipment. And that was one of the most confusing things where I had to tell people, no, put the manufacturer back in. CMDB only needs the vendor. CMDB doesn't care about the manufacturer, but the asset manager cares about the manufacturer. And I found that in 2 companies, and I found that kind of strange. Okay. So whether your BIOS is going to match correctly, because that's pretty much what your CMDB is going to pick up, and what's your manifest. So that's why I don't know if AI would pick up something like that either. 2 different fields. Yes, there are fields and identifier, but I've seen companies literally take the manufacturer field out of, they just turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's great points. Great points. Sasha?
I think I've said it all. If I wanted to say closing statement to what I said, at least, and others, I hope that's what you were saying, is that don't be afraid of using AI. It's just be absolutely understand that it's a petulant child, as somebody wrote in the comments at the moment, and understand what your risks are. Security, lots of conversation about risk, very important, but don't be like. We had this discussion with my wife this morning, actually, when we were having coffee in the kitchen, and she said that people who are not even trying AI these days will be so far behind in a very short time frame, and catching up will be very difficult. So try it, but also shed your rose-tinted eyes, please.
I want to go with Robert. Yes, Robert, I did get that backwards. Okay.
Excellent.
It should be in the MTV, yes.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. I misspoke. Yeah.
That's a good comment.
Good point. Ray?
Well, I like what everybody has said so far. I think guardrails are very important. You got to determine what you want your outcome to be, and I think that's the most important thing. What am I going for? What do I need? Right? Do I need help with these tasks that are boring and repetitive? Do I have volumes of data? And then you set those works for you. You said ask for help. I think the more brains you get involved in it, the better, because sometimes you forget. Sometimes I'll even ask AI, what do I want? Because we've been in this job a really long time, and I have forgotten more than I can remember sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I have had it create solution design workbooks and proposals and SOWs for me based on the RFP information that's come in. I go back and read it, and I modify it greatly to match my voice. But it's understanding what you need and what you want your outcomes to be. And then again, Sasha, you mentioned security. And I think that is one of the biggest things for me, because we have a managed service. We support multiple customers. I cannot take my customers' data and put it out in ChatGPT. I can only use it internally. So even if you're working on your resume, scrub your personal information out of it, because you don't want that out there, right? You don't want your name and phone number, and it winds up in, you know, some, what do they call it? Ghost? Is it ghost?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you want to make sure that any data that you put out using public AI tools is scrubbed of any identifying information. That too. So there's my last nickel.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. And the two to come to mind for me, those would be me. Know your quality metrics. Know what you want for your quality, whether it's the data, the systems, etc. Know what you define as quality, and make sure you have those systematically known prior to going through the endeavor. Otherwise, map out your equation prior to actually putting the details into it, right? I just had to be trained by somebody who was a quality analyst. So when you understand the quality, then you can trust the results, which goes to the second part. Always audit the results. Always, always, always. Don't never just say, here it is, etc. You might say, here's a draft. It's great. How does it look? And so, but always look at the results and pass it amongst your peers and say, okay, this is what I see so far. Anything a little crazy? Because this is your opportunity actually to help better alignment with your peers on AI. Because they're going to say, how did you come up with this? As well as your whole practice area. It's like, oh, wow, okay, how'd you do this? Because I need to know, because this is a report I need in my area. You never know where that's going to help, what else that's going to attribute to. So I look at it that way, but I've always been the quality guy. When you think about the quality, garbage in, garbage out. Right now we have a lot of bad garbage going in and a lot of bad garbage still going out, and we just don't know how to process, and that's the biggest challenge we have. And I'll give an example, AI, right? So I use it for different things. Try to just do a search on asset management. You're going to get the entire gamut and a lot of garbage out there.
You'll get my book.
But I just use it as an example. There's a lot of garbage. How do you work through that, right? So as we put there, we're at the top of the hour, so I appreciate everyone's contributions together. The question I have for you, there's a lot of energy here. Do we need a part two on this?
Yep.
Okay. When do we want part two? I'm just going to go ahead and call it. When do you guys want part two? You guys call it this week. When do you want it? Like tomorrow?
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make a part two. I've got some changes happening, so you guys can carry the banner without me.
Do it whenever you want,
Same here.
Mr. Bill, and we'll join you when we can.
Yep.
Got it.
Very good.
Okay. We'll make it in the next couple of days. You got it. We'll make it this week. But there will be a part two to this, because I think the dialogue online has been awesome. The contribution here has been awesome as well. And yeah, it's very important to us, because we keep hearing all this noise. Okay, let's get some clarity to the noise. That's all I'm asking for. Nothing more than that. Let's get clarity. Let's go and move forward. So thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the contributions. Everyone online, hold on real quick, and let's chime over and their screen, and we'll make that happen.